She kept a diary of her fears. She wrote down every threat, every text, every email from a stalker she believed was her ex, but the monster wasn't a stranger from her past. The monster was the man who slept next to her, the father of her children, her husband. He thought he was the perfect puppet master, but every puppet master leaves strings. This is the story of how a beautiful love story became a nightmare of romance and blood. Kristil Krug was a brilliant biochemical engineer, a mother, a wife to the outside world. She and her husband Daniel had built a perfect life in the suburbs of Denver. She was so bright, so full of light. She loved her job, but her children were her world. She thought Daniel was her rock. They seemed solid. You know, the kind of couple you point to and say, I want what they have. And as Kristil began to pull away, Daniel devised a plan, not to win her back with love, but to control her with fear. He decided to play puppet master, scare her, and then play the hero, unite them against a common enemy, an enemy he invented. In October 2023, the messages began. Kristil was being watched, and she knew it. A rational, brilliant scientist, she did the most logical thing she could think of. She started a log. November 12th. Email received. Subject line: I'm getting closer. Mentioning the new haircut I got yesterday. December 1st. Text message: Does your husband know? She showed me the book. She was terrified. I told her she had to go to the police. I went out and bought the surveillance cameras myself. I installed them for her. She went to the police. But as they began their investigation, a terrifying realization started to dawn on the puppet master. Daniel Krug began to realize his little game had real-world consequences. He could face criminal charges, and his wife didn't want to be with him anymore. So his plan changed, from scaring her to silencing her forever. The plot to control her life became a plot to end it. The morning of December 14th started like any other. Daniel drove his daughter to the bus stop. Kristil took two of their children to school. She returned home alone. What happened in that house was a brutality that defies understanding. The man who vowed to cherish her knocked her unconscious and stabbed her in the heart. And then, investigators say, Daniel Krug began his performance. He wanted to be seen cool as a cucumber, getting his regular morning latte. He even complained it was iced, not hot. He waited for a new one. Does that sound like a man who just murdered his wife in a rage? Is that the action of a cold-blooded killer? No, it's the action of an innocent man, defense attorney Philip Geigel asked, but the prosecution argued it was the action of a calculated, cold-blooded killer who planned every detail to avoid detection. The digital strings the puppet master left behind were everywhere. The email account created on his work network, the gift card registered to him that bought the burner phone, the phone that followed him around Denver. And then there were the cameras. The cameras Kristil's mother installed for protection were offline. The one in the garage was covered with tape, a perfect blind spot. We found DNA on this tape, but it wasn't Mr. Krug's. But if it wasn't Daniel, who was it? The defense seized on every piece of missing evidence. No blood in his car, no DNA on his wife, an unknown partial profile on her neck. The DNA on the tape. Sloppy police work. They failed to protect her when she was alive, and they failed to find the real killer when she was dead. They painted a picture of a lazy investigation, of an innocent man framed by coincidence and a rush to judgment. But the prosecution asked the jury to look at the whole picture. A marriage falling apart, a fabricated stalker, a digital trail leading directly to the husband, a killing that required intimate knowledge of the victim's schedule, and a man who immediately pointed the finger at anyone else. He didn't love her. He hated her. Think about what he did to her. And when confronted, he rolled his eyes and said, "It's always the husband." After a day of deliberation, The jury had reached its verdict on the count of first-degree murder, with the jury find the defendant guilty. The puppet master's strings had finally been cut. Kristil Krug was more than a victim. She was a scientist, a mother, a daughter. She was smart, and she was brave. She did everything right. She kept records. She went to the police. Her story is a devastating reminder that the most dangerous threat is sometimes the one we least expect. This was a brutal, calculated murder, preceded by months of manipulation, emotional abuse, and deception. In planning and executing this horrific crime, Daniel Krug terrorized his wife, his children, and an innocent man, all in order to control and then murder a woman who no longer wanted to be with him, said District Attorney Brian Mason. I am extremely pleased with the verdict and proud of everyone who came together to make this trial a success. Jurors agreed the evidence and testimony against Daniel Krug was both conclusive and damning, said Broomfield Chief of Police Anya Hempelman. While we know it won't bring Kristil back to her family and friends, we hope it closes a painful chapter in their lives. This case was prosecuted by Chief Deputy District Attorney Stephanie Fritz and Senior Deputy District Attorney Kate Armstrong. If this story has moved you, or angered you, or made you hold your loved ones a little closer tonight, please honor Kristil's memory. Trust your instincts. If you feel unsafe, tell someone. Document everything. Kristil's log was crucial, and believe victims. Take threats of stalking seriously. Subscribe to Romance and Blood TV for more stories that explore the darkest and brightest sides of love. Share this video to spread awareness about intimate partner violence and coercive control. Leave a comment with your thoughts below. Let's have a conversation.